What is up, though, Lions fans? We are back. Just as always, it's the Motor City Cats, and we are back at it. Came to give you stats, none of the static. Whatever you do, keep your Lions news pragmatic. It is Victory Friday. You already know what it is. You know what we did to those Packers. FTP, all those big, wonderful things. We got some big energy going on today. We had an epic showdown. It was a showdown of epic proportions in NFC North. Sorry. What did I say? I said NFC West. Why did I say that? I don't know. But we had a showdown of epic proportions. We had the NFC North clash. We had those pesky Green Bay Packers nipping at our heels. And you know what we did? You know, like how when a dog is like biting on your pants leg like a little chihuahua or a little poodle, and you just kick it and you just get out of here. That's what we did to the Green Bay Packers. Listen, they're not in the cellar of the NFC North, but they're third place, right above the Bears. And while the Bears don't have a chance, I would submit to you that the Green Bay Packers don't have a chance either. So the Green Bay Packers, if they're going to get into the playoffs, which they probably will, they will be a wild card team. Now, here's the thing. Do you want to face the Green Bay Packers again in the playoffs because you're like, yeah, we already beat them twice this year? No, we don't want to. Remember the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, right? Trying to beat them 3 times in a calendar year was difficult. It wasn't an easy situation, right? So we don't want to see the Green Bay Packers again when it comes to the playoffs. But if we have to see them, so what? So be it. You got to come back to Detroit. Because another thing that we did is we just kept staking our claim at that number 1 seed. Brad Holmes and Dad Campbell have put together a team that it seems to be unstoppable. I know no team is unstoppable, but man, 18 people on IR. 3 more people were down for this game. 1 more person went out during the game, which was, I don't know where that came from. When they took him back to evaluate him, when somebody from upstairs called down, I was like, what did they see? If y'all don't know what I'm talking about the Lee McNeil play where I think he wrapped up Josh Jacobs, and there was no helmet-to-helmet contact between him and the runner. There was no helmet-to-helmet contact between him and anybody that came through on his team. But for some reason, he got taken out to be evaluated for concussion. It was an extensive evaluation. What up, though, Just a Fan? It was an extensive evaluation on the sidelines, and then they took him back to the locker room. He came back in, and then after halftime, he was ruled out. I don't know what it was, but it is what it is. Get well soon, Lee McNeil. We got 10 days, to get you right. So whatever, and they said it was a head injury, not a concussion. So I don't know what it was. Whatever it is what it is. What is going on, mile marker? What up, though? 12-1. That's right, baby. That's right. For the first time in franchise history, we were 12-1. I mean, of course, because last week, for the first time in franchise history, we were 11-1. So, of course, if you go to 13-1, it's the first time in franchise history. You know what I mean? Locked up the playoffs yesterday. Yeah, we're in the playoffs already. Okay, we're 12-1. It's week 14. We're in the playoffs. There's no sitting on the edge of your seat. There's no waiting. There's no anticipation. Will we? No. Will we? Won't we? Will they or won't they? No. That's not happening this year because we're already in the playoffs. And I think that was the thing that we a dislocated jaw, Just a Fan. So it was from what happened to him last time when he had that jaw injury a couple of weeks ago. So maybe that was what it was. So you stitch that thing back up. So it what do they do? wire it shut or whatever. You know, man, wire it shut and get him back on the field. And, you know, he'll be drinking from a straw for like a few weeks, but it is what it is. These are the good old days. Yes, we are in the good old days right now. We are living inside of the good old days, so make sure that you savor them. Do not take any of this for granted. This is a special season, man. Like I said, how many players have to go on IR? How many players do we have to lose during the course of a game? 18 from the start on IR before we did anything. 18 players on IR. 3 more defensive players not playing, and Josh Pascal, Levi Onwuzurike, and DJ Reader. That's 21 who were unavailable. Aleem McNeil leaves the game at the half. Okay? Again, he left the game earlier. He left it at the half. That's 22. Okay? We were without 22 players. Okay? And the vast majority of those players, 17 of them, were on the defense. Okay? We started out the game with two original starters from our front 7 at the beginning of this year. That was Jack Campbell and Aleem McNeil. This team, when they talk about teams of destiny, I mean, you have to be talking about the Detroit Lions. We keep just finding ways. And I was just recently listening to the Woodward Heavyweights. Shout out Easy. Shout out Spinmo Rack. Shout out Chris. Shout out Nick in the sound booth or the TD booth. I don't know which one he was in today. Dan Campbell's Coach of the Year candidacy should be locked. If Dan Campbell, going through all of this adversity, as I said, losing players every week, it seems, to the IR, you lost your I mean, it took, I think, 3 weeks for Aidan Hutchinson to not be leading the league in sacks after, you know, his injury. That was the guy that we lost. I mean, I don't want to say first because obviously John Kaminsky started off the season on IR, and, you know, then we lost Davenport in week 3 and all these things. But with Hutch, that was like the first huge blow that everybody thought we wouldn't be able to overcome. No one really was batting an eye when Marcus Davenport went out for the season, because if you were like me, you didn't believe in his health anyway. Now, I know that the injury that he sustained wasn't his fault. It wasn't can't stay healthy type of thing. It was something that was done to him on purpose. A non-football move was executed upon him, and he was out. You know what I mean? He's out. But the Aidan Hutchinson thing was the biggest. You know, then you follow that up with Anzalone. Then, I mean, it's just, if Dan Campbell is not the Coach of the Year this year, I don't know, you know, because the only thing we have left, I think they locked up the North yesterday. I don't see any scenarios in where the North is not ours. I know Minnesota is still, you know, pretty much a game behind us at 10-2, and we're 12-1, and they have to play this Sunday, and they're playing Atlanta, but they're playing at home. Kirk Cousins revenge game. It's possible. It's possible that the Minnesota Vikings lose that game, especially since everything that they've been doing has been coming back from behind, has been, you know, very close one-score games. They beat Arizona by 1 point in the waning moments of the game last week. A game in which Arizona should have won, you know, had their kicker not caught the Justin Tuckers. You know what I'm saying? I'm not calling it the Yips anymore. I'm calling it the Justin Tuckers. So had their kicker not caught the Justin Tuckers, I think I'm not saying easily, but I think it was a comfortable win, as comfortable as a 3 to 6 point win can be. You know what I mean? Um, but we've got some things that we've still got to overcome. But I don't see really any way that the North isn't ours. Obviously, we still got 4 games to play. Okay, that number 1 seed is still something that we have to attain. It's not a lock, but now we have 10 days to get healthy. Okay, we've got 10 days to get healthy. Everyone was treating this like it was a short week, which it wasn't a short week because both of the teams played last Thursday, so both of them had the opportunity to go ahead and get what they needed to get as far as rest. It was a 1 week rest, just like normal. So it wasn't anything different than what we usually get. Yeah, so now with 10 days to get healthy, I mean, obviously Anzalone is not coming back. We had guys out there like Jamal Adams. We had guys out there like Kwan Alexander. I believe Kwan Alexander started. These players showed up like Sunday, Monday. Okay, Kwan Alexander was out there with number 10. I said it when Easy was on the show. I was like, these dudes are out here wearing name tags. You know what I'm saying? And the funny thing is, I think Al Michaels said something similar during the broadcast. But I said it first, Al Michaels. But it's like, hi, my name is Kwan. Hi, my name is Jamal. Like, they're just popping up guys from practice squads. What was his name? Miles Adams. He showed up. He had to do his thing. Broderick Martin, man. Broderick Martin is a project. He's going to continue to be a project. He's got a great coach that's working with him in Terrell Williams. But, man, he just wasn't ready for the moment. He wasn't ready for the moment. But with him, doing spot duty and not being ready for the moment, we still held Josh Jacobs to, 65 yards on 17 carries. So Josh Jacobs wasn't carving us up like he was last time we played. I think overall the patchwork was what the patchwork was. So Justin Fan says we're losing players right and left. This is the best Lions team all time. No debate. Motown Mitch says, what up, though? Lions rule, Bears drool. Shredded cheese taste. Oh, so nice. Shout out to Terrell Williams for the job he's doing. What up, though? Paul Thomas. Salute to you, my guy. Brent DeWitt. What is up, though, my guy? He says, we had the replacements playing defense and still won. AG is gone next year for sure. 100% Brent DeWitt. 100% the replacements. And I'm pretty sure all of us are football fans. All of us have seen that movie. But if you haven't seen the movie, it's a great football movie. It's fun. It's funny. And it's the story of the Detroit Lions right now. Not so much, the quarterback and everything, but just on the defensive side of the football. It is crazy. It is crazy how many people we have lost. What is up, though, Flex? Paul Thomas, Justin, you're here to hide from Easy. Why? Why are you here to hide from Easy? Yeah. So anyway, Brent DeWitt says, is shredded cheese still edible after being stomped like grapes in Italy? So I wouldn't eat it. Anything that you put your feet on or in is not something that you should eat. That's just my rule of thumb. Because Easy is a love sexual. So Paul Thomas, you should have been here Wednesday, because I had Easy on the show and we had that argument, and we we stretched it out. I told him what my opinion was. He told me what his opinion was, and I think at the end of the day, both of us were able to like understand where each of us was coming from. Hey, we're gonna talk about the box scores in a minute, but Love wasn't spectacular. Okay, Love was not spectacular. Love made some big throws and some big spots. It was very timely, but his 12 completions were not like, that's not enough. Okay, when Jared Goff has 30 plus 30, was it 32 completions, and you have 12, Jared Goff has 3 touchdowns and you have 1, you got out-dueled, right? Now, you getting out-dueled wasn't really what showed up on the scoreboard, because it was super close game. Super close. Extremely close. Paul Thomas, whenever you have time, pull it up. I mean, it was a pretty lengthy argument. I think it was at least 30 minutes of time that we were arguing about it, but the points were made. Well, see, Motown Mitch, it's easy to look at Malik Willis as there's no way in the world he should have gone at 2. But there is a skill set that Malik Willis has, and while I don't think he should have been taken at 2, and I don't want to compare him to Lamar Jackson, but Lamar Jackson was taken at the end of the first round. I think if you get him in the right situation, because we see Malik Willis is 2-0 as the quarterback of the Green Bay Packers. He was thrown away by the Tennessee Titans. The Tennessee Titans don't have a great track record with developing quarterbacks. Look at Will Levis. Will Levis is a disaster. He's a train wreck. And this is the guy that they got rid of Malik Willis for. So Malik Willis comes over to the Green Bay Packers and by all intents and purposes is balling. I mean, you're 2-0. You're batting 1,000. Now, had Malik Willis been the starter for 6 games, would he be 6-0? Probably not. I mean, he might be 3-3. He might be 2-4. He might not have won another game. Who knows? But I get it. I understand your point. So Justin Fan says, Easy put me in timeout for arguing with him. He got mad and put me in timeout. Then Stick called him out for disrespecting me, but it was entertaining. So Paul Thomas, this is exactly what and this is one of the points that I made. Okay. So as long as I can remember, when I guess, I don't know how old I was. Maybe I was like 8 or 9 when we drafted Andre Ware. At that time, you had Randall Cunningham, who was the premier Michael Vick. You know what I mean? Randall Cunningham was Michael Vick before Michael Vick, but Michael Vick was so much more electrifying and so much more exciting. And the fact that he ran a 4.2, was just crazy. And then you had Lamar Jackson. And now you see it's the way of the NFL. I think almost half of the quarterbacks are mobile to some degree. Okay. And you look at a Josh Allen and you see what Josh Allen is doing. So this is what I was saying when we're talking about, I saw Andre Ware and it was like, well, we just want him to play. We want him to get in the game. Why can't he get in the game? And then he gets in the game and he sucks. And this is what the problem was. But there's always that thing in your mind that, man, if this guy could just get out of the pocket, if he could just escape that sack, if he could just do this and extend the play. I'm not saying he has to run, 100 yards a game or whatever. I'm just saying extend the play like Jordan Love was doing. Jordan Love was getting out of sacks we had tons of pressure on Jordan Love. Shout out to AG because he just had a masterful game plan. We come out of the gate and get a sack against Jordan Love, and it's, oh, by the way, the ex-Packers, Zadarius Smith, who came to get his revenge, right? And then he told Stacey Dales after the game basically why he wants his revenge. It's because he gave them all he had for 3 years, and he said, then once I got hurt, they sat me down and treated me like I was nothing. So this is why he has the vendetta against the Green Bay Packers. And this is the point when we're talking about the QB, right? The QB comes out. If he's a statue, he can't make the play. Like, he can't extend the plays. And then the plays are dead. He has to throw it away, whatever the case may be. He takes a sack, whatever it is. So obviously, it's just the desire to be able to see a quarterback in Detroit that can make the plays and they can extend the plays. And Jared Goff, to some degree, has gotten better at that. I've started calling him Vanilla Vic this year, facetiously. But I think that is just that is the mindset that people look at with football nowadays, because now your best quarterback, your face of the league, is Patrick Mahomes, and he has all the ability to do that. Patrick Mahomes is not super athletic, right? He gets ragged on about having a dad bod and all this stuff. But you know what? He can get out of the pocket. He's slippery inside of the pocket. He's able to extend plays. He's able to make plays with his legs. It's very, very difficult to game plan against. And I think that's what it is. TaylorMade Media says Tom Brady and his Patriots went 16-0 and 0-7 and ended up losing the Super Bowl. That's true. But TaylorMade, I'm glad you made it. I'm glad you made it, my guy. What up, though, Lone Spoon? It's just as fast as Goff has the white man wobble. We're going to give you the floor a little bit later, TaylorMade, so you can give your apology to Pat O'Connor, okay? Because Pat O'Connor was getting pooped on by TaylorMade Media in the preview. And Pat O'Connor went out there, balled out. He had the C on his chest. Not on his chest, but he was a captain for the game. So, hey, when TaylorMade wants to issue his apology to Pat O'Connor, I'll read it off to you. All right, let's go ahead and get into the box score, because I just want to point some things out with this box score. Now, this game was a really hard-fought battle, and while we did put up 34 points, it was tough sledding, particularly in the run game. Our per-carry averages were not good at all. Not at all. So let's go ahead and pull this up. Got it right here. Okay. So let's just go with our game leaders. Jared Goff was 32 for 41, 283 yards, 3 touchdowns and an interception. Jordan Love, 12 for 20, 206 yards and a touchdown. Okay. 12 for 20. That's not great. Okay. It's not fantastic. It's a bit over 50%, right? David Montgomery, 14 carries, 51 yards, and a touchdown. Josh Jacobs, 18 carries, 66 yards, 3 touchdowns. Jameson Williams was our leading receiver, 5 receptions and 80 yards, no touchdowns. Christian Watson, 4 receptions for 114 yards. Obviously, he had that one big reception down the sideline where he got behind Carlton Davis. All right. But he didn't get in the end zone. So neither of the leading receivers got into the end zone. So for our rushing, I wanted to look at that. David Montgomery, 14, 51, 3.6 yards per carry. Jahmyr Gibbs, 15, 43, 2.9. Jahmyr Gibbs is knocking down his per carry average, and I wanted to see him be, and we would have to look this up, but probably the first running back in NFL history to finish a season where he played all of the games and he had six yards plus per carry. I'm Amon-Ra St. Brown had a carry for 10 yards. Jared Goff had 4 carries for 7 yards. So ultimately, we got over 100 yards rushing. They still weren't able to stop us from doing that. But, it was tough sledding. Jameson Williams, 16 yards per catch. That's phenomenal, right? 16 yards per catch. Sam LaPorta, 5 catches for 54 yards, so he was 10.8. Tim Patrick, 6 catches, 43 yards, 7.2, and 2 touchdowns. Now, let's talk about Tim Patrick for a little bit, because there was dirt being shoveled on his name. He was going to be the 6th receiver on a good team. So says Pete Bukowski. Now, I don't know if you guys know Pete Bukowski. If you don't watch the heavyweights, you probably don't know who Pete Bukowski is. But Pete Bukowski is the guy that is the host of Locked On Packers. Now, after this game, Pete Bukowski had this little soliloquy that the NFL rigged the game for the Detroit Lions. I'd like to know and to understand what he was talking about. The Detroit Lions got the favorable whistles. Again, while we're talking about whistles and while we're talking about flags, if you had joined me during the live stream of the game, when Quay Walker got that penalty, first I laughed. I said, ha ha ha, Quay Walker. What a schmuck. Okay, I laughed about Quay Walker. I taunted Quay Walker. I talked about how Quay Walker grew up a Lions fan because he's always giving us free yards, 15 free yards here, 15 free yards there, and it's usually at bad times during the game. Check this out. I also said, had the drive gone the way that it did, continued to go the way that it did, because we didn't really get yards after that, right? We were on the 40 after that play, plus 15, tack it on. Now we're on the 25. We got 3 points on that drive. I said, now, if we wind up winning this game by 3 points, you have to thank Quay Walker. I don't know what would have happened differently in the game. I don't know what the decisions would have made, that would have been made, who would have scored what, okay? I don't know. But what I do know is that we won that game by 3 points. And what I do know is that Quay Walker penalty put us into field goal range. I don't even know if the penalty doesn't happen if we don't get into field goal range. Right? All I do know is that the penalty put us into field goal range. It did happen that way, and we won the game by 3 points. So shout out Quay Walker. If you are a Lions fan, send him some edibles or something. I don't mean like those edibles. I mean like an edible arrangement, like he can eat the fruit or whatever. Send him some flowers. Send him something, because Quay Walker is one of our best players. Every time we play the Green Bay Packers, Quay Walker is one of our best players. So y'all should root for him, congratulate him, and show him some love. So Motown Mitch says, I would love to have a 2-on-1 against the heavyweights about our Lions. Think it would be a top-notch show. Paul Thomas says, we talk about this on Kwame Brown's vids with LeBum. I don't say that man's name. The reason we think LeBum is mid to below mid is because he doesn't play intelligently. I just a fan. All right. So the point is, Jordan Love doesn't see the whole field yet like Goff does, because he is too inexperienced, doesn't check down, doesn't hold the ball, as opposed to throwing when nothing is there. So I think Jordan Love has a bit of Caleb Williams in him. he doesn't care. He will play hero ball. He will throw it up. He will, like in their last drive when he threw it up and pretty much threw it away, like, okay, it bounced harmlessly in the end zone. That was a good decision. He didn't try to force it to anybody. He didn't try to, hit anybody off of his back foot and just do, like he did with Romeo Doubs that time. I think it was against Minnesota, but obviously it didn't matter because Minnesota beat the crap out of him. But yeah, so, that was growth. That was growth. But anyway, back to Pete Bukowski. So Pete Bukowski says that the Detroit Lions got the favorable whistles and all. Bro, I don't know what you're talking about. Does anybody in the chat know what a favorable whistle is? Like, what favorable whistle was he talking about? I don't think that the Green Bay Packers were heavily penalized. There was a pick play that Tucker Kraft, I think it was Tucker Kraft, got. Was it Tucker Kraft or it was somebody? Basically, when they hit Kirby Joseph running their route. Clear as day. Yeah, you got a touchdown call back because it was a clear as day illegal pick. I mean, you knock the man on the ground. That's illegal. And then they tried to say that I think Sam LaPorta ran a route and engaged with the linebacker or the corner or safety, whoever it was, and that was an illegal pick, just like the one that they ran, and Kirby Joseph got knocked on his ass. All right, grasping at straws, bro. Like, I don't. Give us some actual penalties. And then we'll say, okay, that should have been a penalty. And look, I understand the Packers. I understand the Packers fans. I understand the Packers beat writers. I understand all of that. I'm a Michigan fan. And I enjoyed the ass beatings that we used to put regularly on Oh Hell No State. And when Oh Hell No State started winning, I didn't even really have to talk about the refs because it was our fault, because we hired Rich Rodriguez and we allowed him to try to play Big East football in the Big Ten, getting all these small wide receivers and these small, quick, fast linemen. And that's not Big Ten football. And that's why he set the program back 15 years. Okay. But I understand the feeling of watching a team that you have owned and dominated for many years come up, and now they're owning you and dominating you. And I think in the last, what has it been now? The last 7 times we've played them, we're 6-1. I get it. I understand it. You guys used to have a stranglehold on them. Now, in the last 21 times that we've played, it's 11-10. We've beat them 11 out of the last 21 times. So we are leading the series in the last, 10 years? Okay? I'm just saying. And we haven't been great for 10 years. We really haven't. We have been this version of the Detroit Lions for, you could say, 2.5 years. Okay, where you legitimately come in and say, because the Detroit Lions are better than us, this is going to be difficult for us. Before the Green Bay Packers were able to just say, hey, this is a team that is in our division. They're just in our way. Shout out Amik Robertson, because he said this about the Green Bay Packers. He said they're just in our way. That's what you used to say about the Detroit Lions. There has been a power shift in the North. And this is the thing that they are now having to grasp at. There is a power shift. Green Bay Packers fans. and we've seen this on other programs and things of this nature. Green Bay Packers and their fans believe that the North is theirs. Equanimous St. Brown said it on the St. Brown Brothers podcast. The team in and of itself, not just the fans, the team feels like they just have to come out and start the season, and the North is theirs. That's not what's happening anymore. Like I said before, I think for all intents and purposes, yesterday locked up the North. It took us to the playoffs. We have a playoff berth already. But yesterday locked up the North. I don't see any scenario in which we will not win it. Now, there is a scenario in which the Packers will not win it, and that is every scenario available. Because the Packers at 9-4 are no longer threats to win the North. They are third in the division. Okay? Now, I mean, if something crazy happened, like the Detroit Lions and the Minnesota Vikings lost out and then the Green Bay Packers won out, I mean, I guess that is the only scenario in which they could win, and then you'd have to look at tiebreakers within the division. They haven't lost, but I don't know. That would be pretty difficult, right? Because they lost both games to the Lions. They got swept. They've lost their first game against the Minnesota Vikings, so I think they have to play again, right? The Bears are the Bears. They're a non-factor, but you know what? The Bears do have a new head coach. I think that's going to give them a bump this week going in playing the 49ers. The 49ers are depleted, just like the Detroit Lions are depleted, but I think the 49ers are depleted and defeated. The Detroit Lions are just depleted. It's a different mindset. But we're the kings of the North. And if you don't like it, Green Bay Packers and Packers fans, you must beat us. To be the man, you must beat the man. We are now, as I said, the team that you guys are gunning for. So I'm going to give you some advice, and I hope you don't take it. I was watching, I think it was Armani and Edwards yesterday, and they were talking about how the Green Bay Packers were coming into Detroit, and they were supremely confident. This goes into what I wanted to say about the box score. So let me quickly pull this back up, and let's just go to the defensive box score. All right. Let's see. Team stats, player stats. Let's see. Where's the defense? All right. So let me go to the Packers defense. All right. Xavier McKinney actually showed up on this on the stat sheet. Okay. He actually showed up on the stat sheet this game with 4 total tackles, 3 assists, and I'm guessing if he had 3 assists, he only had 1 solo tackle. And I think that was the one where he bumped Jameson Williams out of bounds. And as I said, if Jameson Williams had about 2 more yards of field, that would have been a touchdown. Right? So Xavier McKinney had all that to say about not being worried about Amon-Ra St. Brown. And while Amon-Ra St. Brown didn't do a whole lot, whatever he did do was very timely. He got timely first downs and things of this nature. He didn't get into the end zone, didn't have a whole lot of catch numbers. As I said, J-Mo was 5 for 80. He was our leading receiver. Xavier McKinney talking choppy. The response when Amon-Ra St. Brown was asked by his brother Equanimous on their podcast, what do you think about him saying he's not worried about you, blah, 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 blah. It went on for like 3 minutes with Equanimous trying to get Amon-Ra St. Brown to give some bulletin board material, which he would not give. Tucker Kraft saying all this crap. Now, I don't know if you guys saw this, but Tucker Kraft got his manhood taken away by Trevor Nowatzki. Trevor Nowatzki obliterated him. Okay? And didn't even make the tackle, but he obliterated Tucker Kraft. Tucker Kraft talking this stuff about getting his hands on Kirby Joseph. He's going to do X, Y, Z. Here's my advice for the Packers and their fans. Respect your opponents, man. Respect your opponents, because the Detroit Lions were called a first-class organization by Jamal Adams. And there's a reason that you can understand that. Obviously, the leadership that we have with Brad and Dan and our coordinators, Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson, and, you know, our position coaches, Shep and T. Will, and all these people, right? But the culture that we have in Detroit is a culture of, hey, do your job, put your nose to the grindstone. And what does Dan Campbell say? Put your head down and go to work. It's about to be fun, man. It's about to be fun, right? Put your head down and go to work. We're not worried about all this outside stuff. We're not worried about it. And he said it after the game. We don't have to talk about how tough we are. We don't have to talk about how resilient we are. We just do it. We live it, right? So Green Bay Packers, players, fans, respect your opponents, man. Stop talking choppy. You don't need to give bulletin board material to NFL football teams. Like, I understand you want to show you have this chip on your shoulder. Again, shout out Amik Robertson. He said they act like they're competitive, but it's a lot of fake dudes over there, pretty much. Pretty much. So just, I mean, it's getting embarrassing, man. It's getting embarrassing. I was looking for Xavier McKinney. I was looking for him in coverage. I was looking for him to break up a pass, to be somewhere when it came to a pass being thrown in the air. He was nowhere to be found. All he was doing was coming in late and getting assists and tackles. That's 2 games that Xavier McKinney has played against the Detroit Lions in his career as a Green Bay Packer. 2 games he had stuff to say in the beginning, before the game was played on the field. 2 games where he has had minimal to no impact. So in the immortal words of Eddie Murphy, Xavier McKinney, Tucker Kraft, and anybody else who's talking choppy on the Green Bay Packers, have a Coke and a smile and shut the F up. Kings of the North, baby. It is what it is. All right, let me get to some of these comments. What do we say? All right, TaylorMade Media. You mean like when the ref kept his flag in his pocket when Caleb went to Odunze on the last play versus the Bears? I don't know. What flag did he keep in his pocket? Motown Mitch says, I think a favorable whistle is when you see that sexy lady walking down the street and you whistle at her. Lone Spoon says, excuse me. Lone Spoon says Tom Grassi also complained about the refs. While he did say there were other factors to the Packers losing, he did say the refs were not good. Again, this is what you do. Remember when the Lions used to lose all the time? The first thing that we would do is look at plays that were not called. We look at, unless it's egregious, then I can understand that you have a gripe with that. Like, what game was that? When Aleem McNeil had only 4 pressures, which there was only called 4 pressures. He probably had about 10, but he was getting held all the time, and only 1 holding call was called. I can understand that one. When it's like something is happening, it's a pattern of behavior, it's a pattern of incidents, and you're not getting any of the calls. That's annoying. Um, all right, Taylor May. Let's see. How many tackles did Pat O'Connor have last night? And it wasn't just the tackles. It was he was a menace. He was pushing the pocket. He was pressuring Jordan Love, getting him off of his spot. They said on the broadcast how he was just firing off the line and he was in the backfield, beating his man all night. So remember, it's not always like the tackle numbers. All right. So here, Jack Campbell had 3 solo tackles and 5 assists. El-Qadim Muhammad had 3 solos and 1 assist. Kirby Joseph 3 and 1. Brian Branch 3 solo tackles, no assists. Terrion Arnold had 2 and 1. Carlton Davis 2 and 1. Miles Adams 2 and 1. All right. So Pat O'Connor had half. He had an assist. All right. But as I said, Pat O'Connor's stuff wasn't the stuff that shows up in the stat sheet. He was the guy that was out there wreaking havoc and being a menace and changing pathways of runs and changing where, Jordan Love would roll out and all these things, moving him off of his spot. That was what Pat O'Connor was doing. All right. Motown Mitch says Lions will make the Vikings bow down with our 12 stringers because we will be resting our 11th stringers. Now, here's the thing. Motown Mitch. The only way that they are resting against the Vikings is if the 1 seed is already wrapped up. Dan Campbell came out after the game and he said that the 1 seed is on their radar. The 1 seed is what they are looking for. Okay. So if they don't have the 1 seed wrapped up, even if they haven't lost anything else, even if they're 15-1 going into the Vikings game, if they have to beat the Vikings to get the 1 seed, guess what? All the starters are playing. That's just how it's going to be. This team wants the 1 seed. This team has a path to the 1 seed. Now, I'm going to give a shout out. To somebody who usually is here on Fridays and is usually very pressed. Shout out to K8 Press, one of the subscribers. Always very pressed. Always thinking that we're going to get our asses beat. I was told that the Green Bay Packers were going to beat our ass just like the Indianapolis Colts were going to beat our ass. Now, while the Indianapolis Colts did not score touchdowns, they scored 6 points. We beat them 24-6. This was a divisional game. Okay? And again, you guys have heard me say this. This is my rule. We know you. We hate you. We want to ruin your season. That is what divisional opponents are looking to do. That's it. That's what they want to do. That's what they're looking to do. That's what they need to do in their eyes. Okay? When we come to the Minnesota Vikings at the last game of the season, if the number 1 seed is not locked up, the Minnesota Vikings will be looking to play spoiler. I believe that the Minnesota Vikings are going to lose some games down the stretch here. I can see them losing to Atlanta. If Atlanta can get out of their own way, I think Kirk Cousins for sure can go back to Minnesota and have a big game. I don't think he's going to be affected by the crowd and all these things. And who knows what the crowd's reaction of Kirk Cousins is going to be. As I said, Kirk Cousins left Minnesota when Kevin O'Connell wanted him back. I just don't think that they were offering him the money that he wanted. and Kirk Cousins is a Hall of Fame bag getter. He is the GOAT when it comes to quarterbacks getting the bag. Guaranteed contracts, the whole nine. If the number one seed is not locked up and we need to win that game to get the number one seed, be prepared for the Minnesota Vikings to be playing spoiler, because while the Minnesota Vikings will be playing for nothing, because they'll probably be in the playoffs and their seeding is their seeding, they don't want the Detroit Lions getting the number one seed and getting the first round bye and all these other things. They would rather see the Philadelphia Eagles get that because the Lions are in their division. All right? And this is the reason that I will not pick a blowout in a divisional game. It's just not normal, right? It's not normal. So, K ain't pressed. If you watch this later, just remember, saying a divisional opponent is going to beat our ass is wild. It is absolutely wild. And it doesn't happen. It's not normal. And to see this 12-1 Detroit Lions team, and to think that any team is going to blow us out, it's very, very wild. It just doesn't make sense. Lone Spoon says, I do know that every time there was a pass rush, Pat O'Connor was flashing across the screen. Yeah, he was. That's what he was doing, right? He was disrupting their offense. Their offense was disrupted by Pat O'Connor. All right, you guys have any mailbag questions or anything of that nature? I think I touched on all the points that I wanted to touch on, man. This game was a game that, the fourth down conversions. Yes, I forgot. Got to talk about those. Many in the national media, well, I won't say many. I think it's split 50-50. I think there were people that loved the fact that Dan Campbell, or Dan Gamble as he's called, went for it on fourth down. I think there were people that hated it. Brian McFadden was one that hated it. He said just because you are playing blackjack and you hit on 17 and you get 21, that doesn't mean it was the right thing to do. The last one was, I think, very, very obvious. Okay. So Taylor May, you're not gonna give him his props. Cool. We're talking about the pass rush. That's what we're talking about. Okay. Josh Jacobs had 3 touchdowns, and each one of them was running on Pat O'Connor. Is that what you're saying? What about the last one that he scored when Broderick Martin was getting blown off the ball and getting twisted and turned around, and that wasn't on Pat O'Connor? But I understand you're not going to give him his props. You're not going to say that he had a good game. Why was he standing at the podium? If he was a bum and he was not affecting the game at all, why was he standing at the podium? Why did they make him available for media availability? Was Broderick Martin speaking after the game? No. How about Kaida Iwasika or whatever? No, he wasn't speaking. He didn't have any impact in the game. That's all I'm saying. But back to the fourth down conversions. The fourth down, the last one that we went for when Jared Goff fell down and we iced the game. I mean, it was easy to understand. The game was a seesaw battle. It was going back and forth. You've got defensive players out there wearing name tags. You've got, 17 defensive players unavailable. You wanted to keep the ball out of their hands. Whether they got it back with 20 seconds left, 30 seconds, what have you, it didn't matter. You wanted to keep the football out of their hands. And by going for that first down, I think they had to use their last timeout prior to that play. So going for it on fourth down there allowed you to ice the game. And then all you had to do was make the kick. At the least, your outcome was that you were going to be going to overtime. Right? You called timeout with 2 seconds left, brought Jake Bates out there to kick the game-winning field goal, and he rewarded you, and he made it. That was the thinking. That was the decision. That's why he went for it. Yes, he was already in field goal range. But there's the thing. He's already in field goal range. If you do miss the kick there, okay, if you do miss the kick there, you give them a shorter field. And then they can go down and get into field goal range, and they can win the game. This happened before with the Green Bay Packers. Okay, we thought we had the game won, went for a field goal, didn't make it. They drove down, and they won the game. So this is what the thinking behind Dan Campbell was, going for it on fourth down there. Now, the only thing that I will say, and not about that one, I think it was the one before that when we went the toss to Jahmyr Gibbs. I hated that. I hated that play call. I didn't have a problem. Lone Spoon says Broderick Martin might as well go back to the practice squad from what I've seen. Yeah, he's not ready yet. Taylor May, you say I'm a Jordan Love hater. You are clearly a Pat O'Connor hater. What did Pat O'Connor ever do to you, man? Why are you so mad at Pat O'Connor? Listen, Ben Johnson, man, phenomenal offensive coordinator, phenomenal offensive mind. Sometimes tries to get a little bit too cute. Here's the thing that I'll say. When it's 4th and 1, 4th and inches, put your big body tight end, Sam LaPorta, Brock Wright, one of those guys under center, and do a quarterback sneak. Houston did it against us, and it is such a thing that I don't understand why other people don't do. I don't want to get my quarterback hurt. Kansas City Chiefs say, we don't, since Patrick Mahomes injured his knee on a quarterback sneak, you won't see the Kansas City Chiefs run quarterback sneaks very often. It's more likely than not that they won't run a quarterback sneak. So here's what you do. Every week during practice, you take 10, 20, 30 minutes, however many you need. When Sam LaPorta and Brock Wright aren't in drills or whatever the case may be, have them practice taking snaps under center so that the QB center exchange is crisp. There's not going to be any fumbles, any mishaps. And whenever you need a 4th down, just like Philly does, you know what they're doing, but you have to stop it. When it's 4th and inches, 4th and a short one, that's what you do. Right? So when Jared Goff, they say that he came to the line and the Green Bay Packers had those gaps filled. There was no way that he could run a quarterback sneak. Okay, cool. Check to a play that's not that. A pitch play. I'm not a fan of having to gain a half a yard or having to gain a couple of inches and ever turning your back to the line of scrimmage. I'm never a fan of that. I don't want you to get depth and have to make up that depth, right? Unless it calls for it, when you're in the I formation, because I used to be a running back, the running back is 7 yards behind the quarterback. 7 yards. So what you're telling me is he has to run 8 yards to gain a yard. This one I don't like. I never liked that one. That's why I said Get your tight end under center and bull that thing. Brotherly shove, do your own, call it the Motown hold down, whatever you want to do. But we need to develop something that's better than that. TaylorMade says, if it ain't there, call a timeout. Yes. That's what I was initially gonna say. Like, that's not the play that you check to. You can't do that. So I don't ever have a problem with Dan Campbell going for it, because it's worked out so many times. Like, when you see something and you see how it works and you still deny it, then there's something wrong with you. But when you see how it works, you understand how it works, but you're like, yeah, but the execution just could have been better. So I didn't have any problem with him going for it on either one of those first downs or fourth downs. I understood that if you didn't get that one there, you give them points, which is ultimately what happened. But the offense was doing what the offense needed to do. I mean, Jared Goff was having himself a game. Aside from that one interception that he had, which also led to points, he wasn't perfect, right? But he would have had a damn close to perfect quarterback rating. It would have been in the high 120s probably without that interception. So that's just it, man. It's just the play call. The play call. I don't like the play call. And in that situation, if you really had to have it, yes, you could have called a timeout, or you could have just tried to draw them off sides, took the 5-yard penalty and punted. But it was just the play call wasn't there. Just a Fan says, are you still being harassed by people whose names I will not mention? I am not currently being harassed. I know the channel was taken over and it's going to be a new thing and whatever it is. If you guys were subscribed to that channel, please unsubscribe from it. That's all I'll say. You know what I mean? And I don't know if, the main channel or whatever, I'm not, not trying to start a war, but, the one that I was running, if you are still subscribed to that channel, please remove your subscription from it. All right, Just a Fan, we will see you later. I hope you got the answer to your question. All right, guys, I'm going to have to get out of here. I can't stay too long today and hang out with you guys. I got some things that I got to do. It's a busy Friday around the MCDP household. But once again, guys, appreciate you all. Make sure you smash the like button. Make sure you share the stream. Make sure you subscribe. Let everybody know what's going on around here. The Motor City Cats, we back at it. You came to give you stats, not static. I can't tell you what to do. But if you're up for some suggestions, I would say make sure you keep your Lions news pragmatic. And we are out.